I'm back. Sorry
And
about
Madonna
that.
was looking at the screen. I had to click, and she's like, "Who's that?"
Character. I heard you talking to her. It's just like, look at this girl. She's so here making new friends. Y'all probably see me give up on myself so many times. And it's just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're the Venice East. Come on. And now I'm finally realizing that, you know what, man, I am special. I am unique, and I'm forced to be reckoned with. And the only person that is holding me back is myself. So this is the new wave. Like I said, I feel like since October I've just been doing this, and it's gonna keep
on a
going.
trajectory.
It's gonna keep going in 2025, man. And I feel like next year is gonna be a really big year for me. So I mean, if you have been following me, get ready for it. If you haven't, jump on while you can, because the wave is about to be bigger and better, and it's about to wipe some people out. So get ready. That's all I can tell you, man. I'm so excited.
Zeke Rose is in the house. How are you, man?
I'm great, man. Finally, you invited me here, man. I'm excited. Excited to discuss some with you, Emmanuel.
Yeah, thank you. And it's interesting because, like, you're from California. It's interesting. You've had a period living there too. What was it like being on the West Coast in your part of your life?
West Coast is the West Coast. I always go back to that. I mean, the weather, the food, the people. It's just a whole vibe, man. Something that, will always stay near and dear to my heart. Like I've had, increments of time that I've done, both as a child and an adult, but I always find my way back, man. And plus, like, I'm probably the biggest, like, Los Angeles sports supporter here in Texas. So I get on a lot of people's nerves, bro. Like, the Dodgers, they just won the World Series, last night.
Yeah, they did.
Let's go, And then, of course, I gotta, have my Lakers back and everything. So the only thing is that, the Raiders, they're not in Los Angeles. So, I mean, during my time there, like, the Raiders were a big thing in LA, and, they're in Las Vegas. So, I mean, it's a neighboring city, but like I said, man, it's always a vibe, and I try to bring that vibe here to Texas and try to represent as much as I can.
Yeah, because, like, have you seen the wrestling scene at the time when you were growing up?
So one thing about the wrestling scene, I really didn't follow it over there, but dude, I was like big into like WWF, WWE. Like, one thing about my background is that I did not live in like one place. Like I've basically like lived in multiple different places because my dad was in the Air Force. So I mean, dude, that's all I had, man, was wrestling each and every week. And, uh, moving places, having to make friends, like, every 2 years. The one thing that always brought me, close to, certain groups, especially, trying to make friends in school and stuff, was wrestling. Like, hey, did you see the last Monday Night Raw, or did you see the last, Monday Nitro? Did you see what Sting did, or did you see what Hogan did? Like, that was like the thing that always brought me together, and it's always been a part of my life. So even though like I wasn't, very into the scene over there back then, or even here in Texas, like that's basically what kept me in, the wrestling industry was, like I said, it was my connection. Like I said, it was my home away from home, to be honest with you.
Because, like, I was thinking about that too, where moving out of these places every 2 years with your dad in the Air Force, like, have you ever had friends that still talk to you even though you moved, let's say, from California to settling down here in Texas? Have your friends in California been in touch with you even though you're miles away from each other at that point?
Yeah, man. They follow me. I have a couple friends. I'm not mentioning any names, but the thing is that they have followed me, throughout all of my endeavors. When I played sports, when I got into music, and I did that, and now wrestling. And the thing that drives everybody crazy is he's like, bro, like, dude, you're actually doing the wrestling thing, like you're actually doing it, And when they start seeing me on flyers and they start seeing me on cards and I'm making promos and they're just like blown away, And the crazy thing about this too is that they actually see me, I've always been like a risk taker, I've always been the type of guy to, just kind of put myself out there. And a lot of people have a lot of fear about doing that. But when they see me doing that, now they see me, you know, chasing my dreams. And they're like, you know what, man, I'm going to chase my dream. I'm gonna become a painter or, I'm going to start doing, breakdancing or whatever. It's just a lot of things that, a lot of people are afraid of doing. And I'm just happy that I can, have a platform like social media, like Facebook and Instagram, uh, mainly, where these people are seeing me doing my thing after all these years and now they're doing it too. And it's just a dream come true that I can also be an inspiration for them. So
What made you have the choice of saying, hey, and you mentioned like taking a risk and chasing your dreams. Why wrestling?
why wrestling? Why not, man? Why not? I mean, to be honest with you, like I feel like in my life I've done a lot of what I've wanted to do. I've done the sports thing. Didn't work out for me. I was really good, but the thing is that um there's just certain opportunities that didn't work out for me. So I mean, I'm the type of guy that if I'll keep going until the well runs dry, and then after it does, then I'm like, okay, where do I go to next? Like, where do I get my nourishment? Where do I get my fulfillment? So when sports ended for me, and then I ran across a group of friends, they're like, hey, let's put a band together, let's do it. I took that risk and I went and I took it all the way. It gave me a lot of opportunities. I got to see a lot of different places of the country that I've never been able to see before. So just, being able to do that. And then once that ran dry, I decided to go back to school, get my degree. I thought it was over for me, but, a part of me inside told me, hey man, like you still got something, you still got something out there. And I'm you've known me now for a couple months, Emmanuel. If there's one thing that I want people to know is that I'm a man of the people, like I love to be, something of the people. If I have to be an inspiration or an escape or something, I mean, even though it's an inspiration for myself and it's an escape for myself, I will always be a guy that wants to provide, that sort of thing for other people. So, when I saw wrestling and, like I said, I tried so many times to get into it. I just never had the time to commit. But at that, what I want to say 2020, I want to say March 2020 is when I made my decision and said, you know what, man, we're gonna try, we're gonna go all the way. And you know what, I'm happy I made that decision because now, like I said, it's giving me so many opportunities. It's giving me so many opportunities to discover myself, to reinvent myself, to find a new purpose, and that's all it really is. It's just, finding, value in, what, opportunities, come my way. Wrestling is doing a lot for me right now. So I'm glad I made that decision.
And it's interesting because like a majority of the guests here on the podcast have been under APW. And what was it like training under Pops? And what was the what was the one thing that kind of he gave you as advice, and as you started to train and then understanding what wrestling is and what the business is about?
Well, I'm for one, man, I'm very grateful that I ran across APW, that, I'm able to call myself an APW graduate. I hold that badge with high honor, and to be able to train under someone like Papa Don and, all the other many faces and talents that are under him, I'll be forever grateful, man. I started actually my wrestling journey, in like 2016 or 2017. I did a couple stints over with Reality of Wrestling because I was, in Houston at the
Oh,
time.
really?
That's where I tried to break in. The only thing is that at the time, man, I was super overweight, man. I probably was like maybe like over like 340, something like that. Like I could barely move.
Okay.
And they had a criteria that which to me made sense because you can't put a non-athlete in a wrestling ring. And I was probably out of sports for like, shoot, man, 6, 7 years, something like that. I really
Okay.
let myself go. So it was like a journey just to try to get back to that point. Everybody there was super nice, super friendly, Book, Sharmel, everybody perfect. Like I said, if anybody's in Houston, definitely a place I would recommend to train. Cause like I said, they are, from the mothership, or for lack of a better term. But yeah, dude, it was a very awesome experience. And so, when I had life things happen, I did not want to move to Austin. That was the last place I wanted to move back to. But
Okay.
my parents live here and they were able to, help me get back on my feet. And when I told them that I wanted to, wrestle, they were like, look, handle your business and you know what, uh, check it out. And so I applied online the day before I moved to Austin. I went to APW's website. Um, I, I, I looked them up before because I was just like, well, is there any wrestling schools in Austin, Texas? And so I started Googling, independent wrestling. I think I ran across like a random match with like T-Ray against Don Rodrigo at some rinky dink promotion or school in Katy, Texas. And I was like, well, where are these guys from? Oh, APW, shoot. And so I filled out the application, moved to Austin. The very next day, Steve Marino gave me a call and said, hey man, I found your application. We had a really good conversation. Steve-O, man, dude, Steve-O, if anybody don't know about Steve Marino, I suggest you look that dude up, man, because he is a phenomenal wrestler. He's a phenomenal talent. I've learned a lot of great things from him. I had the pleasure of being his tag team partner. We went on the tag team run for a few months, but yeah, when he made that call and he started, talking to me about, nobody's going to want this. You got to want this for yourself. Like, this is not going to be easy. And so I was up for the challenge, man, And so, training under Papa Don, one thing that I've, realized is that, I was the type of guy, I was the type of athlete, I could be put in any sport and I could do it, like maybe give me like a game or two and I'll be your best player or if not an impact player for your team. Uh, Wrestling is different, man. It's a different beast. It's a different animal, like I can't stress enough. It'll probably be, if anybody's thinking about doing it, I mean, you might get, the 1% or 2% that will, get it right away. But, it's a process, man. And the thing is that you have to be okay to fail. You have to be okay to learn from your mistakes. And that's one thing that Papa Don will always tell me, man. It's just, don't be hard on yourself. Learn from your mistakes. It's very easy to get down on yourself when things don't go your way. But
Hmm.
like I said, working alongside him, and the cool thing about him, man, is that like he didn't just let me sit on the sideline. He said, "No, man, go get in there, get in there. I don't care. I don't care if you're not in shape. I don't care, dude. You're gonna get in shape. We're gonna get you there. The only thing that's holding you back is by you not doing it." So, honestly, man, he's pushed me. He's pushed me so hard to the point where it forced me to to be great, and even to this day, like I'm not there on a regular basis anymore, but I mean everything that he's taught me, everything he's shown me, and the most important thing is that he believed in me, when others did not. So, um, I always stress to anyone, find a tribe, find somebody, find a school that can back you up, that can believe in you, because honestly, if you have that behind your back, dude, you can move mountains, man. So very grateful for my time at APW.
You've had one of the titles that you have is the America's Championship, and that's like the equivalent of like the World Heavyweight Championship in any wrestling promotion. Did you have any before we even talk about that? Like, did you have any titles before leading up to the America's title?
I did. So whenever I went on like a really crazy run, man. I want to say it was 2023. Um, oh no, it was like 2022, man. I I went on a run. First championship I won was a tag team championship.
Okay.
With my tag team partner Aaron Atlas. Um, I
Wow.
went.
Okay, I've heard of that name.
Oh, dude. I'm letting everybody know right now. Aaron Atlas is on a comeback. You better watch out for this guy. I am definitely looking forward to doing two things: having a match with him because he got me the first time our first one-on-one. He got me, so I need to get my get back. And then two tag team. Honestly, man, with two guys who are over 6'2", who both are over 240 pounds. Like,
You
dude,
guys
ruin
are
everything.
tanks, literally. You guys are tanks.
I'm telling you, man, it is a recipe for destruction. I'm telling you, like. I'm really itching at the fact that we could possibly get back together and take the wrestling scene by storm. So we're taking it one day at a time, man. Like that's a pipe dream of mine. But yeah, dude, that was my first championship. Afterwards, Atlas, he started doing his own thing, and I went on my singles run. First championship I won was uh the social media championship for APW.
Okay.
And that match was against Kane Carter, which was probably one of the craziest matches I've ever been in. And that's where I basically debuted my discus clothesline, uh, my bread and butter that I have today. But yeah, I won that. Then my second belt that I won was the AAPW Heavyweight Championship. This is a belt that is no longer in circulation.
Okay.
Both the social media and the heavyweight belt was retired when I won both of them. So I carried both of them, and that title became the AAPW Wrestling Championship. So that's the yellow belt that
Okay.
who has it right now? Uh,
Ethan Hunter has it.
Ethan Hunter. Yep, another good talent. Yes. So yeah, Ethan Hunter, the one that he has now. I was the very first carrier of that belt. And then
Wow.
my first time winning the title was the for the Americas title was against Lawrence Patello. Um, I held it for I want to say until March 2023, and then I dropped it to Warsaw. That was when Warsaw, long time heel, turned babyface on me and beat me. Crazy. That was a really good match too. But it was awesome because, like I said, Warsaw was also one of my mentors, man. He was the one that saw me from level one and, saw me all the way up until I became, champion. So, I took a little break, little hiatus and decided to come back. And I actually am the only one that won the Americas belt 2 times. So I'm the first 2-time carrier in history. So I came back, saw Houston Hendricks, pinned him up real quick, and took the belt, and that was it. So, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Houston, man. Houston is a great talent. He is awesome. Like I said, any other given day, he probably would have, given me the business, but I was on a mission that day. So, anytime you get a Venice beast that's, that sees blood in the water or sniffs blood in the air, it's hard for me. It's hard to stop me. So, like I said, I'm very honored that, I'm able to say that, I'm not only, a Grand Slam champion, but, APW's first 2-time America's Championship belt holder. So
Because how has having trust with earning these belts mean to you?
means a lot to me, man, because when you're a champion, especially when you're the main champion, you're the face of the company. Everything's on your back. You got not only do you got the bullseye on your back, but you got the camera in your face. People looking at you. You got people messaging you. It's a good feeling. Because anybody who has ever held that belt has worked their ass off to get to that point. So for me, like I said, it's opened up so many doors. For me. It was able to open up doors for me to work with Baracho Pro, with Inspire. just to name a few. Uh, Dude, the names of people that, I've met and ran across and gotten opportunities from, like, it's been a complete honor to hold that belt. And anybody who's ever held that belt, is taking their career to the next level. So, and on the side note, man, personal mission for me next this well, there's still time this year. There's still time for me to
Yeah.
make this happen, but next year for sure is I want to be able to show what I can do outside of AAPW. So being able to show people that not only am I championship worthy within this place that I call home, my school, but outside as well. So I'm on a mission. That's the goal now. Like I said, job's not done. Like I said, it's just another chapter in the book, man. So that's where I'm at right now.
Because I do have another person in mind that you work with, but out of all the title reigns that you have, what is the most sentimental to you?
The most sentimental to me, man, yeah, dude, that's a hard question. That's a hard question because, honestly, man, the first, the first America's title run,
Okay.
okay, and I'm gonna tell you this story because, um, at one point I didn't feel like I would be able to get to this point. Neither did I think I was worthy being, at this point, but I made it. Whenever I went to APW to, check the school out, Pops, he sits you down, he asks you these questions, did you play sports, what is wrestling to you and everything like that, and I gave him everything. Um, I could tell that he took a liking to me, and he's just like, yeah, man, I feel like you can be something. And then, basically what he told me was, or actually he walked me back into his office after he showed me the school, sat me down, went into the closet, and he just like pulled out all these belts,
Wow.
and he got the America's belt and he put it on me. And he's just like, here, put this on. And he's just like, yeah, it's your what? You look good with that belt. That belt is meant for you. And as I train, man, like I've ran across so many hurdles, so many setbacks, from injuries to, just, not getting certain things in training to, finally got it. During those times, I didn't think that I was ever able to get to that point. There was even one time, man, where, I stepped away and I told Pops, no more. Stepped away for about 3 months. Um, but when I was away in those 3 months, maybe after the first month, I kind of thought about it, and I was just like, you know what? If I'm gonna do this, if I'm gonna, and so it's my little
Oh,
special
there's a
guest.
cameo. Who is she?
This is Madonna, aka Donna.
It's like,
She
okay, I'll be
she
here.
likes the attention, so she'll be popping in. But yeah, dude. You know, I I made my decision during that time. I was like, you know what, man, I'm not I'm not gonna get to this point if I don't take it serious. If I'm not in the gym working out, if I'm not watching wrestling, when I'm not in the gym, if I'm not, if I'm not thinking about wrestling throughout the day, I'm not gonna get where I want to go. So
Right.
I want to say during that time, I want to say it was like January 2021. I was like, you know what? It's time. We got it. We got to go. And from then on out, we did it, and it got me to that moment when I beat Lawrence, and dude, that meant the world to me, man. It meant the world to me. And then when I lost it to Warsaw, and the amount of people, and this is crazy to me because I was a heel. Like I was doing some heel stuff. I was doing some of my best heel stuff, and everybody gave me a standing ovation. They were sad to see me go. Like to me, that meant everything because
Mm.
that meant that my title reign meant something to us people, meant something to the APW universe. So I will always be grateful for that first title reign. Like all the ones are special, but that one in particular meant the most to me, both when I won it and when I lost it, because it definitely had that moment during both times. So.
It's interesting because now this is because I was there with this match in your second America's Championship. It's come a
Mhm.
full circle moment when someone from reality is the one that you're facing with Rocket, and being and seeing someone who's in reality and working with Josiah during that time. Like, tell us a little bit about how that match came to be.
Shit, man. I came to AAPW one day. Papa Don looked at me. I looked at him and I said, "Hey, man, who's my opponent gonna be? Next week?" And he was just like, he showed me his phone and just slid it over and put it on his page. And I was just like, "Oh yeah," And the thing about that is, Emmanuel is, like I said, I'm a big Booker T guy. Um, I grew up watching Book. Because he looked like me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Really?
like I could see myself as Booker T, like the hair, the when he was behind Heat, he had the little singlet with the fire coming out and everything. Come out sucker, like dude, he talked like me, like that was big, So anytime I get a chance to, go against somebody, that's under his umbrella, under his tree, I hold that with a high badge and a high honor, Josiah, man, he's a great talent. He's young, like honestly, like I often think to myself, if I was able to start, at a young age like him, like he's given golden opportunity, to become, not only somebody, but, somebody that, people will remember for a long time, in my opinion, man, like if I had a chance to, add to that story, definitely, I want to do it. And I was happy to, have that match with him. Um, and I definitely would like to, have a match with him again, and and do even better, hopefully on a bigger stage, when we're further down in our careers, I get more experience under my belt and he gets more experience under his, I mean, he's not a light kid, he's tall, he's very tall, he's very athletic, he's strong, um, these are all the things that I look for in an opponent, somebody who can shake the landscape a little bit. I definitely see him as being one of those guys. So when Pops, asked me about him, and like I said, I've been following the kid since he first started, training,
Wow.
I watch everything, man. I watch everybody,
Okay.
and so when I was watching him and I saw him coming up, I was just like, let's do it. So it was a great time. It's a fun honor, and I definitely would love to do it again.
I had him on for an episode, and at the time of this recording, it'll be this week's episode. He had the same sentiments as you, and facing
Really,
him down the line. So when we talked
really,
about the episode, I asked him, like, "Do you want to face him again?" He's like, "Yeah, definitely." Like in a different in a different time, a different circumstance. So when I was researching this, I'm like, let me see what Zeke's side of the story is with that.
no, man, he's great, man. Like I said, I still follow him to this day. I'm a big fan, and the cool thing about him is that dude, he's young, bro, but he has like a veteran's mind already, which makes me believe, like, dude, what could he become in 20 years? What could he become in 10 years? But honestly, the world is his oyster at this point. So, um, will we face each other again? I believe it, because you know what? I believe that I'm worthy of being on the big stage, and I know he will be too. So it would be fun to kind of revisit that again on a larger scale.
Because one thing, and out of all of your matches, one aesthetic that I noticed is you have like the synthwave 1980s kind of an appearance, and the 80s is long and gone, but we're seeing that revival of like the synthwave, the Miami Vice, the Hotline Miami aesthetic. Like, how did that culminate to what you're doing in wrestling?
You want to know? Dude. So I want to say it was 2021. 2021, I came up with the idea. So I was still doing Brother Zeke at the time. And I remember, I went on a trip. In one of my conversations was, you know what, like, I like this Brother Zeke character, but I don't feel like this is what I want to take all the way. I don't feel like this is me. Um, I, I ran across this movie. I ran across this movie on YouTube. It's called Kung Fury. Um, it's like a
Oh, okay.
small
Oh,
budget,
I remember.
it's a small budget film, but it's just like super outrageous, and everything in that movie is just everything that I wanted. You know, uh, tough guy with the one-liners, sunglasses.
Yeah.
The heavy like synthy like vibes or whatever. The palm trees, the sunsets, um, dude, that was everything I want to be. And the thing is too, is that like my dad, my dad's a big like action movie like dude. You know what I mean? Like, and when I grew up watching action movies, like, stars like, you know, Pierce Bronson, um, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, dude, Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, the list goes on and on. In in my mind, like, I just wanted to be like an 80s tough guy, So I was in LA. Funny thing, I was in LA, okay, and I was walking in Venice Beach, and this is a real story, super real, super real. Walking down Venice Beach, I saw these sunglasses. My girlfriend at the time, she put them on me, and she's like, "Put these on." I said, "Oh man, it's so cool," And I put it on. I put the phone on me, the selfie camera, and I was like, "Bro, I look like freaking Terminator." I look like Arnold
Aw.
Schwarzenegger. And that's when I was just like, dude, that's what I want to be. I want to be, an 80s tough guy. I want to be the nostalgic, like, hero or villain, and the crazy part about it is that like most people who are in wrestling or who watches wrestling or remembers wrestling, um, they come from, that era, the late 80s, the 90s, even into, the 2000s. That's the vibe that people remember. So you'd be surprised how many people, stop me and tell me, "Hey man, I dig this. Like, you bring me back to a time when, I watched this movie, or I watched, Roadhouse, or, Terminator or whatever, man." Like, it's really cool vibe. So, I just decided, to stick with it. Of course, the colors, um, man, I'm a big sunset guy. Like, that's my favorite time of the day is the sunset. And I don't know if you've ever been like on a sunset, like on the beach, especially like on the West Coast, because all you can see is water. It's just like
It's
nothing.
amber skies,
Amber
man.
skies.
I
Like,
love
dude,
it.
dude, that is everything that I see, And I mean, even later on down the line, like, dude, if I had like a dying wish or something like that, it'd be like, dude, just sit me on the beach, off the 101, off the sunset. Just let me just vibe it, and then I could just go out like that. But dude, it is everything that I wanted in what who I am. So I take little bits and pieces of, the 80s, the sunset, and you know uh uh just recently I started integrating the Jaguar, or the because Jaguars are water, or they're very aquatic uh, felines. So
Okay.
not only are they big, strong, and muscular, but they move very well in the water. So I decided to make that a part of the vibe just because, if you watch like, like 80s, like, hair metal, dude, that's another thing.
Yeah.
I'm big into the 80s metal, like Guns N' Roses and Scorpions and, Def Leppard. Dude, list goes on and on. Metallica, bro. You see those guys, they wear a lot of the animal print. So I started putting that in my gimmick, but yeah, everything that is Zeke Rose is nostalgic from that era, and everything that I pull, from that is from that era, and I've even played with, doing the 80s goth thing. I'm a big Lost Boys fan. That's one of my favorite jams of all time. One of my favorite movies, and so, like I said, I just constantly just try to find, like inspiration from that. Michael Jackson, the list goes on and on. It's just, I have a unlimited amount of inspiration that can just keep this gimmick fresh for years and years to come. And the cool part about it is that I see a lot of people doing it, uh, especially in wrestling right now. But I feel like I give it a different flavor, a flavor that's fresh, a flavor that is not, worn out, and a flavor that keeps people coming back for more. So it's great.
The one very blatant revival is the Outrunners
Well,
and in AEW, and it's like they're living the gimmick. They have stories that they faced Andre the Giant, and they faced they were in the Silver Dome when during the territory eras,
it's
and
amazing.
seeing the revival of like his watching through a lot of like the territories and coming to like the WWF and seeing those gimmicks being revived is kind of an interesting thing. It's like clothing where I had a fanny pack when I grew up in the 2000s, and it's like
Uh,
that's a very 90s thing. It's
very
there's always
nice.
a revival of a past era, but it's still a modern, it still fits to that modern aesthetic to what we have today. The Outrunners was kind of much of how what the 80s were, but they kept it relevant to the younger audiences who are watching it.
Hey man, as somebody, and another reason why I decided to do this is because, I'm not the guy that has to go to YouTube and, look it up and see how does it think that. No, I lived it. I was there. I was there. I've seen, certain games. I was fresh in it when Sting was still rocking the blonde hair,
Oh
And
wow.
dude, when Sting was rocking the blonde hair, Lex Luger was what I forgot the narcissist or whatever, when he took the
Oh
mirror
my
in,
gosh, that's
when he
right.
took
He
the
had
mirror
that
in
era
the ring
too.
and
That's
he was
right.
pros and everything. Macho Man, like dude, Hulk Hogan when he was in his prime, when Hulkamania was Hulkamania, like dude, I lived all of that. So it's not a stretch for me to go into that bag and be like, God, you know what I mean? And the cool part about the Outrunners is that I feel like, even though they have these stories and everything like that, they strike me as some guys who have also seen it with their own eyes and
Right.
experienced. And there's just something special about, being able to look into that bag and like kind of, offer it to people. It makes it more authentic. It's more like, hey, I could get the recipe from YouTube and, or Instagram or Google, but it doesn't beat getting it from grandma's, like, old black book or Rolodex. So you know what I'm saying. So that's pretty much why I accounted for it. But that's a really good comparison, man. It's really good. Good.
Because they lived it, which is kind of hilarious because there were many interviews of them and like they committed to, yeah, I faced Andre the Giant. I I got to I got to see I forgot what they had, they were in the Silver Dome, they were in the territories, like to have that gimmick and living that and being committed to it, that got I the first it took a lot to warm up when they had those vignettes with
Yeah.
AEW. They were living like a 1980s workout video. It's hilarious because like I never grew up in that era of wrestling because I was in the Invasion era. I
Uh-huh.
never got to go to the 80, like the prime time, like the golden age of wrestling. I
Mhm.
didn't really got into it until I was an undergrad, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, have I missed this wrestling?
Dude, I'm telling you, man, like that's when I play. So when I play YouTube, I watch so much of these videos that they just pop up in my feed, automatically. It's
Yeah,
nothing for me to just see like a old, like, I don't know, uh Yokozuna versus, I don't know, some jobber, or seeing
yeah,
Mr. Perfect do his thing. Dude, I mean, it's a really good time, man. And I mean, every era of wrestling is great, but I mean, to me, that era of wrestling and the Attitude Era, to me, are ones that just like got me into it, like hardcore how I am right now. So
yeah. And we're gonna change lanes to what you're doing in music and um touring in different cities. And wrestling is in that same vein. How is it similar and how is it different in terms of going from city to city as a band? And tell us like what your experience is there too.
yeah. So I mean, honestly, man, it's not too much different, The only difference is that, instead of dealing with five guys, you only have to deal with yourself, or I mean, at most, the person that you're going with, unless you're going to be on like a multi-man or whatever. But I feel like it's similar to the same business. Your promoters, your people. Shoot, I mean, even to the point where, like, if you're looking for a place to crash, like, you meet people at shows, you meet people who, open up their humps to you, because they get to know you, and they take a liking to you. It is a stretch, meeting people in a different state, in a different, city. But I feel like the approach is the same, even when it comes down to, booking, when you're talking to people, over social media. I was lucky enough to be one of the guys whenever I did start my music career, social media was just taking off,
Right.
it was still MySpace, but still, like, honestly, I've seen so many bands, like A Day to Remember. They were a small little band from Ocala, Florida, and they had a couple hits on MySpace, and they blew up. And one day I'm watching TNA Impact, and or a TNA pay per view, and their song is headlining a pay. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
similar with wrestling, you get your stuff out there, social media, people find you, or you send a message and say, hey, what you got for me? Here's a couple matches, and then they kind of ask around. I've been very blessed because I've ran across people not only in music, but in not only music but in wrestling too, who have opened up their vans, their cars, to have me slip in an extra seat and just go in and just see what happens. Sometimes it's that, sometimes you just show up and you're not booked, and you know uh people see you. Fortunately for me, I'm not trying to say I'm special, but I mean, I definitely do have a different, look and vibe whenever, you see me amongst people. So then it's like, oh, who's this guy? Kind of get to know them, and then they give you an opportunity, and boom, they ask you to come back, or they ask you, hey, next year, let's do the same thing. I was really lucky, man, because, dude, this past, uh, this past April, um, I took a trip to Indiana, Dimitri Alexandrov was kind enough to open up his heart, and have me, ride along with him. I mean, he did some things, up there. I forgot which promotions, but dude, it was just a blast just being around him, and just kind of seeing the level of influence that he has, in other places outside of Texas. And to be honest with you, man, like, I do feel like, with him and just seeing how he works and operate, he is meant for, a lot of great things. Make sure, man, he just won that what that what the what Death in the Family, that deathmatch tournament that they
Yeah.
had, dude. Oh, crazy stuff. I was there, and just seeing him, shine like that, um, it meant a lot to me. But it meant a lot to me because he was able to open up a door for me, So I was able to meet, a couple people, up in Indiana, like a promotion called Naptown. Definitely, wanting to reach out to them and work with them in the future. I got a chance to meet Hoodfoot. He's one of my favorite deathmatch wrestlers, and he's representing. And I told him, I was just like, man, it's always great to have representation. So I mean, it just opens up doors for new relationships, and that's all it is. Really, it's just be open to just having conversations with people and opening up new doors, so that way you're getting exposure to a different demographic than you didn't have the ability to, just by going into a different city. And in that note, Emmanuel, I always encourage, like, even if you're not like on a card, doesn't matter if it's music or if it's wrestling or whatever, if you're not on a card, don't matter, just go introduce yourself,
Yeah.
shake some hands. If you have to, like, you know, pick up some chairs, throw some trash away, help tear the ring down or put it up, just get your face out there, because you never know
Hmm.
what opportunities are gonna, uh, you know, fall in your lap. So that's the only thing I can say about, both industries, as a whole. I mean, they're very similar, and if you approach it that way, you can make things happen.
Because like now you're on the road. You're on the road as a wrestler and as a musician,
Uh-huh.
and comparing that to how you're moving every 2 years growing up with your dad in the military. How is that different and how is that similar? And I know like being stationed is a different circumstance, but to travel on your own accord and finding these opportunities, what's the difference of seeing that move as a musician and as a wrestler, and someone who's basically tethered to your dad while he's in the
Yeah.
military?
Hey man, is you know what? One thing I can really tell you is that it's empowering, because when I do these things, when I leave and I go on these trips, doesn't matter if it's music or wrestling, I'm putting my destiny in my own hands. You know what I mean? Um, when I was with my dad traveling in the military, and this is the main reason why I did not join the military, because I scored very high on my ASVAB military assessment test. Um,
Hmm.
I scored really high. The Air Force really wanted me, and I was just like, you know what, I can't, because um, I don't want to be forced to go somewhere where I don't want to go. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've seen my dad. I mean, I'm very grateful and thankful, and I'm very grateful and thankful for anybody who serves our country and sacrificed their lives, for the betterment of you and me. You know what I mean? But I could not, like, I could not stand someone telling me, "Hey, man, I need you to live in Korea for like 2 years." And the part that tore me apart was when they did that to my father, and they told him, "No, just you and your family has to stay here." You know what I mean? So just going, 2 years without, my father, I'm very blessed and very lucky, not only, as a young man, but as a young black man, to be able to have my father very active in my life, who's, willing to give me guidance and, to encourage me, um, and to not have that for 2 years, like, I told myself, um, I could never do that. Now I will do it if it's something that I love,
Mm.
whenever you're talking about, like, you know, uh, sports, or in this case, wrestling. I've seen plenty of guys who's, had to spend time away from their children just to, live this dream out, but they're providing. And the thing is that if I'm providing, doing what I love, and inspiring, then that makes all the difference. So, like I said, that's how I see it in a nutshell. It's do you want to or do I have to? You know what I mean? So that's basically it.
Because you sense like you have a sense of freedom just traveling around and knowing the cities that you're in. You have a sense of like gratitude because like, hey, like, oh my gosh, I've been through Indiana, or even though I've been through another city, or more like that, and you got to know the culture without the guise of a vice of a schedule, and you
So,
know what you're gonna do. It's like, hey, if I'm in in Houston, it's like, oh, okay, I get to know what the city is, and you know what the city is, what the whatever promotion is that you're going to be booked that night.
hey, you know what? Is nothing warms my heart. It makes me feel, awesome. Knowing that something that I love doing gave me an opportunity to see something that I never thought I would see.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, for instance, I've played a lot of shows when I did music. One of them that stands out to me the most was, it was like maybe like 2011, something like that. Uh, I was in a band. I was in a pop punk band called Last 2 Weeks. I'm a big pop punk fan. I love like Blink-182 and New Found Glory, and I was just like, let me try this. Let me do this. And I mean, I was pretty good. Or the band was pretty good. I was blessed to be able to be paired up with, you know, four other talented individuals. We made a stop in Atlanta. It was very random. It was, I think it was like maybe like a thrift shop or something like that, but they had a basement, and they said, "Hey man, we do these shows in the basement. Come, well, we would love to have y'all play." We played, man, and I was so nervous. I was just like, man, there's only nobody here. Like nobody's gonna know who we are.
Right.
Man, that ended up being one of the best nights I've ever had. We had people like the whole basement was packed. We had people literally like hanging off
Oh, that's
the roof,
cool.
just like jumping on my back. I was the front man, so I had and nothing like seeing a big black dude with the microphone. People would jump on your back and start trying to take the microphone and sing and everything like that, man. Like it was great. And I sat there the whole entire time looking around and saying, look, if this was what music can give me, then I want to do this for as long as I can,
Mm.
and I mean, unfortunately, that wasn't the case because eventually my love died out from it. But from that came pro wrestling, um, dude, I spent many hours in the car, talking about wrestling matches with my friends, we watch like old school like wrestling tapes, on the way to different cities. And I would tell people, dude, that's not I'm a wrestle one day. They're like, "Ah, no, you ain't not do it, man. Dude, no, you're crazy. No." And then I have those same friends who are looking at me and they're like, damn, doing that, that's one thing that, I'm forever grateful, because from the road, from traveling through these cities, comes opportunity, whether if I go into another city or even if I'm going in between cities, I'm a guy that likes to think. I'm a very cerebral guy. Um, I'm always thinking about, man, what's my next move? What's my next gimmick?
Hmm.
Where can I take this? Like, dude, I mean, just to let a little rabbit out the hat, like I often think, what, like, bro, I saw guys like, Phil Noir and Maximus Stone doing these like private eye gimmicks, I was like, dude, what if I, did the little Don Johnson like Miami Vice, the it did the pastel shirt with
Yeah,
the jacket,
exactly.
sunglasses, and I'm like Zeke Rose, Venice Vice, you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, these are the things that I think about, and that's why I like being on the road, man, because I get to be in my head. I get to think about these things, or I get to have these ideas and conversations with people I go on the road with. So, I don't know, man. Anytime I would say if you have opportunity to jump in a car, go somewhere, do it. Like you never know what's gonna come out of that. Like I said, it very well might just change your life because I know it did for me.
And I have one last thing, and you mentioned being in a pop punk band and moving over and being involved with Renegades USA. How has that brotherhood changed from just some guys playing an instrument to a brotherhood of wrestlers when you joined them with Renegades USA?
Dude, man, it's crazy because like whenever you get attached to something, or actually for me, it's always been like random things. Like I'll tell the origin story of the very first band I was in. Whenever I was in college, when I first started, I started working at a GameStop. I
Mm-hmm.
actually worked two jobs. I was working at a Gap and a GameStop. And one day I was just folding clothes, and one of the guys that I work with heard me singing to myself, and it's like, "Hey man, you're pretty good. What did you join a band?" I was just like, I've always thought about it, but I don't know. And so like I'm like closing up GameStop, and somebody just walks in and just says, "Hey man, I'm one of the guitar players for the band. We really want you. Why don't you come try out?" And I go, and boom, make history, right? Um,
Wow.
so I fast forward to Renegade USA, man. Uh, I was training with Dog Pound. I was training with Rodney Mack and Jazz at the time, and we did a battle royal for Dog Pound. And this was, I guess, for the number one contenders for the championship. I think Edgar Garza was holding it at the time. And Edgar, if you're listening, man, I hope you have a speedy recovery. I'm rooting for you, man. Can't wait to see you back in the ring. Um, but anyway, uh, you know, we did that battle royal, and I went across a bunch of guys from Renegade USA. I think James Blackheart was one.
Mm-hmm.
The Renegade, the Bad Boys of Wrestling. Those dudes out of Lions Pride. Dude, like I was a monster that night. I won it. I obviously with me being the monster that I was throwing people left and right, and I believe Lieutenant Dan, he's the guy he's basically the ringleader for the Renegades. He's the guy who
Mm-hmm.
who calls the shots. He saw me and said, "Hey man, dude, you're really good. You're phenomenal. We would love to support you." I mean, I've always had Renegades on my radar because Morris Patello is also a Renegade, and Morris Patello and I trained together whenever we first started. So whenever he joined Renegades, I was just, dang man, this dude he's in the NWO. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, man, when do I get my shot to join the NWO? Um, but honestly, man, like those guys have treated me like family, and I'll be forever indebted to them. One thing that means a lot to me, and one thing that really showed me, hey man, I'm proud to be Renegade. A couple months ago, I think in July, you know what I'm talking about, man. I got my car broken into, and I lost pretty much a lot of my things. I lost
Oh,
my
that's
gear.
right.
I lost, all of my merch. Somebody out there is probably rolling around with some Zeke Rose shirts on, and my very first leather jacket. But um, once I shared that with the guys, they all got together, and they're just like, "Hey man, what's your cash app?" And I'm like, "Nah, man, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. Don't do it." And they got it anyway and put the stuff up, and like with the help of a lot of people, man, they were able to help me raise about $500 to get some of my stuff back, which I'm currently working on right now. But when they did that, man, that told me, hey, this is a brotherhood. One thing I can tell you about wrestling, for the longest time, like I had a really hard time, trying to find, my place in wrestling. People with the amount of egos, and that's one thing that's different about music in wrestling, or at least what I
Right.
realize is that the egos are blown up.
There's
The roster.
personalities too.
dude, it's like in music, it's just like, hey, whatever. But wrestling, it's like I said, you got two big heads going at each other. Like, dude, it's hard to kind of find, your tribe. You know what I mean? So, uh, I would say this, man. Renegades is really giving me, a place where I can, be myself. I can be free. And I can, I can, I can trust people. You know what I mean? Because to
Mm.
me, trust is everything. You know. So, like I said, when I ran across these guys and they did that for me, like I said, dude, I was blown away because I really up until that point never really thought I could, ever have someone that I can rely on or I can count on. You know what I mean? Um, like I said, one guy I will always say is, Dimitri, man. Like I said, he is the guy that, I look at as a brother. I have other guys too, man. But like I said, with him and then the Renegades, um, my new guys over at AAPW, like, you got, Primetime J Sky, Mokele, Cameron, congratulations on winning that American belt. Um, Ethan Hunter, Kirby Knox, um, shoot, man, who am I leaving out? Travis Cuddy, he's
Mm-hmm.
another one. All these guys, man, like you really begin to feel like, a unit, with these people. And just, seeing from an outside perspective, these guys encouraging each other, these guys motivating each other, that's all I can really want, I mean, I played basketball. Basketball is my main sport, football too. I come from a team atmosphere, team vibe,
Mm-hmm.
and it almost feels almost like that, even though like we're all individuals, even though like we're all like, big personalities, we're able to, come together and motivate each other. And that's all that brotherhood means to me, man. So I'm very grateful for, like I said, my Renegades. I'm also grateful for you folks at APW and other people I've met in the business as well.
Yeah, and this was fun. This was a fun episode, and thank you so much for having you on. And it's like one thing that I enjoy is hearing uh the authenticity from every person I interact with, and
It's a real time.
I'm gonna turn this on a different angle. And if you were in the same room as an adolescent you, um, what would you like to talk to him about?
I would talk to him and let him know that you 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 are a total badass. I don't think growing up I give myself enough credit. I feel like I've always thought that I was second fiddle to, this person or that person. But
Right.
confidence is everything. And one thing that I've realized, and one thing that it took me up until 2024 to figure it out, is that when you have the tools, you have the ability, you can have everything, man. But if you don't have that confidence, it means nothing, you know? And that's all I will say. And that's all I will tell him. And I'm pretty sure young Zeke would figure it out because he's a very intelligent man, young man. Like I said, it's funny. It's almost like being a handyman with all the tools, but you're afraid to use them. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you can't fix anything or you can't make a difference if you're afraid to use the tools that's given to you. You have to be comfortable with it. So that's what I would tell young Z for sure.
When did it take time for you as the person now? Like, when did you finally start to say, "Oh my gosh, I know what I'm doing. I know what my place is, whether it's in the wrestling realm or in life." Like, when did you have that moment? You're like, "I should have
Yeah.
thought of that."
Dude, this epiphany, I have just found out like September. Like, dude,
Oh,
dude,
okay.
this is a recent epiphany that I have just experienced. But honestly, man, like I've held my back for so long. I've held myself back, you know. I've held myself back from reaching out to people because I just didn't think I was good enough, or I just didn't think I had it, you know. But the one thing that I'm really grateful for about, and I'm talking about the fans now, the people who follow me, the
Okay.
people who support me, is
I'm
that
one.
y'all are, yeah, they did, dude, and this goes to you too, man. Y'all have never given up on me, you know. Y'all probably seen me give up on myself so many times, and it's just like, dude, what are you doing? You know, like you're the Venice East, come on. And now I'm finally realizing that, you know what, man, I am I am special, I am unique, and I'm forced to be reckoned with. And the only person that is holding me back is myself. So
Mm,
this is the new wave. You know, like I said, I feel like since October I've just been doing this, and it's gonna keep
on a
going.
trajectory.
It's gonna keep going to 2025, man. And I feel like next year is gonna be a really big year for me. So I mean, if you have been following me, you know, get ready for it. If you haven't, jump on while you can, because the wave is about to be bigger and better, and it's about to wipe some people out. So get ready. That's all I can tell you, man. I'm so excited. I can't stress it enough, man.
Yeah, because like we hang out a lot in APW, and we've had side conversations. Like, it's funny. Like, this entire episode is just all of our short bursts of a conversation, and hearing it full circle, and telling your story has been it's been a treat. And
Tree.
no and and hearing and we had these tiny little riffs, and we talk about life in general and where
Yeah.
you're heading. It's honestly, it's a great direction to, and we'll never know when the road goes until you take it, you know what I mean?
Yep. Right. Donna Donna knows she takes every road possible, you know. And the thing is that life is short, man. Life is very short, you know. If there's one thing that I've realized this year is that, you know, next year is not promised, you know. 10 years from now, 10 years from now, I promise, you know. But what can I do now to solidify a legacy? Because that's all that matters to me right now. Is leaving behind a legacy that people can look back and say, you know what, man, this guy, you know, made a difference. You know, and even for you, Emmanuel, like you're on the same path, man. Like 10 years from
Thank you.
now, 10 years from now, dude, you're gonna be amazing. You're gonna be great. You have all this great content with all these up and coming wrestlers. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
So I mean, everything that we do makes a difference. So I mean, why not start today? So
Awesome. So I have nothing left to give. Thank you so much for having you on,
thank you
Zeke.
for
And
having
where
me.
can we
Melanie.
find you on socials?
Social media. You can find me at Zeke Rose. I do have a personal Facebook that I also post content on as well. Zeke will rock you on Instagram.
I love
Um,
that screen. I love that so much.
Thank you, man. I'm not changing it ever. And then the Retro Wave 1984. You can find me on TikTok with that handle. And then like I said, if anything else pops up, like I said, I'll be posting more on other platforms. So
Okay, awesome. So this will be the end of our conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Zeke. We'll throw in Madonna on there. She's been a very, very good co-star on this podcast. And we will move exactly. And we will move on to the next one. Bye.
Peace.